So, like I mentioned earlier, about AI involvement in business, actually, and it's also getting involved in DAO space right now. So, our next speaker, Vikram Aditya, is the founder and CEO of DAOLens, which is utilizing AI to solve a lot of operational problems in DAO space. So, welcome, Vikram. Stage is yours.
Thanks, Vatan. Hey, everyone. And thank you so much to the DAO Estonia team for getting everything arranged. Uh, I'm going to dive straight into the content. But just to lay out what we are really trying to do here is that I'm going to actually walk you through why or what are our really experiences that we have seen as we have been working with DAOs around the world. At this point in time, I think it's good to say that I have probably explored how DAOs are managing their operations with over 100 of them. And we see a lot of common recurring problems which do not really go anywhere. And everyone seems to be building in silos, which is how we landed on how do you really simplify DAO operations. And then eventually I'll link it to when you are trying to simplify DAO operations, it can still get overwhelming. So there's been a lot of chat about AI and how do you really make sense of the AI stuff on top of whatever is happening. So I'm just gonna start presenting as soon as the slide loads. Awesome. So this is exactly our title, Effective DAO Operations and AI. And if you look at this is a very familiar landscape, right? There are maybe quite a good 30, 40 tools that are not even there in this list. And this list keeps on evolving every day because, of course, newer people are building new things. Essentially, what ends up happening is that community operations are nothing less than a chaotic jungle, right? Everyone is trying to build in silos. You have probably no context, no noise. Just think about how a Web3 community operates, right? You will see that there's discussion happening somewhere on Discord, or there is a forum where people are talking to each other that's happening in the form of a discourse. That discussion usually moves into a proposal. So somebody goes and says, hey, let's vote on whether the community should do something or not. That happens over a different tool, which is Snapshot. And I'm just talking about the best tools. There are multiple varieties of tools that you could use or multiple combinations of them. If a proposal happens, if the proposal passes, it usually breaks down into tasks. Those tasks are now again they have the mechanism of somebody completing a task, doing submissions. You're supposed to review them. Then you're supposed to pay them out, which happens on a tool like Gnosis. And then finally, there is reputation because somebody did your job for you. You are supposed to reward them with karma points, XP points, NFTs, whatsoever. Essentially, you jump between 7 to 8 instances of tool as a Web3 community as you're trying to decentralize. And it becomes really messy because no one is really working for just one community, right? So that got us into thinking what would really happen if you were to think of bringing all the operations, everything under one platform. You have a unified platform access. Or for that matter, imagine you're working on a task and there are hundreds of people who have discussed, who have paid out uh, in terms of their time and who have given their valuable opinions. You're not really looking at them when you're working on that task. You're working at it in a silo. So how do you really establish that context so that you know why a task even exists, why a bounty even exists, why a vote is actually even being floated? Or for that matter, if I as a contributor am working for 3 to 4 DAOs at the same time, for me, I don't care about an individual community on its own. I care about what can I really do across the communities that I'm really a part of. Discord gets messy because you have over 100 messages popping up every hour. So a lot of these problems, right? You have tools that are doing reputation. Someone is someone is doing their reputation on one tool, somebody else is doing their reputation on tool B or on chain B. And how do you even really draw a parallel between everything? Right? So that got us into thinking about, hey, what could that platform really look like? Right? And I'm not really gonna give you a demo of the platform or make it salesy, but I'm just gonna in fact highlight what ends up happening when you start bringing all things inside into one platform, right? So everything you see here in form of community home, bounties, libraries, proposals, calendar events, they're all different modules, right? And when I say modules, you can basically switch it on and off. So let's say you are a community and you don't care about discussions. You only want your people to browse through educational courses. You could totally go on and toggle things on and off, saying, hey, my community looks like a classroom. For somebody else, it could look like a bounty board. For somebody who wants to have discussions and voting and everything, you could switch on multiple modules. That was the first thing towards ensuring that, okay, we need to like have a modular structure. Then as you move ahead, that just doesn't do it because every module is probably like there's an established player. Somebody like Snapshot is great at voting. Somebody like Gnosis is great at payout. Do we keep on building all of these things in silos? Because then you will probably never be able to trust these independent tools on their own. So what we thought of was like, how about if one platform actually starts integrating or aggregating all the tools out there in the world? So that even if you're voting on Snapshot, that actually ends up reflecting on this platform, except that you don't really have to go to Snapshot, right? Like, so that got us into thinking, okay, what are these different modules? You can look like there is an event module here, there is like a discussion module here, there is a document module here. A lot of these DAOs, they have this Notion document or like a Google Doc where there are tons of smaller documents saying, hey, this is the meeting notes from our last calls, and everything is really sitting in a silo. Some newcomer joins your DAO, you want to like teach them how they could get started, right? Like, so this is basically the linking piece that I was talking about. That think that you have a discussion and you have a vote and all of them are linked. You see it here, right here, saying that, hey, linked on-chain proposal to this discussion. So as you start building on top of it, right, like you will see that, okay, if people are like contributing over 3 to 4 communities, you could see how they are stacked in terms of leaderboard, who's doing what. You could basically gate things. Now, just pay attention to it. You probably would run into a lot of offerings out there that go in and say that, hey, let's gate it. If you have a token, you have access to the community. But that's like a very basic level of gating. What if you want to gate people who have red hat on their apes? Or what if you want to gate people who have panda trait in their NFTs into one group? What if you, as a creator, have a community and you want to give the best of the contributors reflected by their karma points, let's say some discounts in terms of merchandise? So gating needs to go beyond, which is like, okay, token gating is great first as a first step, but what if you like really want to diversify from that? We kept on thinking on and on, just like, hey, if somebody like really has to, they have submitted a task and they're requesting a payout, they don't have to really jump between different tools. What if I can just say that, pay me, and then the admin can just do it from the same platform without really going in and here, right? Like, how do you really manage grants? Or for that matter, what's really happening as your community tries scaling up? There are like tons of documents that are floating around. How about you create an educational course, but that course is linked to a certification, which means people can go through quizzes. And basically, as you start establishing or thinking about how do you really structure your community, you will have to take care of all of this. Because if you have a group hanging out on Telegram, if you have a group hanging out on Discord, and there is Google Calendar, and there are like tons of other things, there are events spread all over. You basically want to bring everybody into one UI, right? Like, so that was exactly what we were thinking. And then comes the idea of, I am a DAO, I have 10 sub guilds, and I want to basically ensure that every guild is operating on its own. And I want to have a holistic view, but at the same time, the guild members should have their own view. That is basically what we have been trying to do, which is like bring all of these tools into one platform. But then there is one very obvious problem. The problem is that there is too many things, right? Like I just talked about maybe 12, 13, 14 modules. And it doesn't stop there, right? Like, so we were like, okay, how do we add AI on top of it to basically derive insights? And what that ends up happening is, what if, let's say I was on a vacation and I want the AI to come and tell me, hey, this is what happened when you were away. Or for that matter, let's say you don't know how to vote on something. It's a very common problem for communities to go on and say that voter apathy is a problem. People are not voting in the right way. And you go into somebody and say, hey, you know what? Hey, Robin, help me vote on this proposal. Tell me what I don't know from the minute, like from the time before I joined the community. Because everyone is living in a community for 3 months. The community lives on for years. And there is a lot of context hidden from before you were a member, right? Like, how do you seamlessly manage your tasks? Could you ask Robin to like draft proposals? Could you brainstorm ideas with it? And so on. And that is precisely what we have done. So everything that I just showed you, which is all modules into one platform, that comes on top with an added AI layer where you could go in and say, hey, create a task for this, summarize this for me, critique the pros and cons of this post, summarize what happened in the last 2 weeks for me. And not only there, you could like actually go about translating stuff. So when communities are decentralized, you expect somebody from Japan and Germany and US and Brazil to work in the same room. They of course have language issues, which is why a lot of these times these people, they step in the background. you could ensure that everyone has a localized view in their native language in real time. And these are like just some of the examples of prompts that we have been trying to roll out. This is already actually live. What ends up happening is if you just go in and say summarize what happened, you could actually also access it through a Chrome extension. But on top, this is like way more detailed out when you're trying to do it as a part of DAO Manager. How can I learn about topic? Has somebody talked about A or B? And that's essentially the closest we have come to based on all the discussions we have done with these DAOs in terms of how would you really scale operations and how could you really leverage AI on each of these individual pieces. I just wanted to like highlight one way of thinking that we have been having. Initially, we also end up like sought to build independent tools that were not really connected. 1 year back, I was trying to solve for the problem of onboarding, and a lot has happened in 1 year. And it reflects in the fact that you could like really do everything, whether you are an NFT community, whether you are not even a Web3 community, you just have a Web2 product. You want to talk to people, you want to get some idea, you want to do a quick poll, you want to do like an emoji related voting, you want to float a course, everything can be done from here. And then AI as a layer is added on top of it. We're actually also trying to work with the latest plugin launch that happened with Chat GPT-4 to like actually understand what we could do to further empower this, because now we have the context of reading things on the website. But that's just really quickly what I wanted to talk about. I'm happy to take questions if there is an arrangement for that, but Watan, over back to you.